Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the word Islam, its meaning, and my interpretation of it, my experience of Islam. So, start with the definition. Islam comes from the word salam in Arabic, which is peace. Peace through submission to God. So, what that means to me is something I just really kind of understood, and not just in my head, but in my heart. Submitting to God is not something easy. As people, I think, inherently, we think, and we think, and we think, and we think, and we're always trying to figure things out. Whether it's how I'm gonna pay my rent, how I'm gonna fix my car, whatever you gotta do, we're always thinking. And not that that's a bad thing, because we do have to act as human beings to get through this world. But there are some things that we need to let go of. My experience of letting go, I recently just started to look back on my life and think about the fact that I did have like this moment, a pivotal moment of submitting to God. It was about 2.5 years ago. I had been, 2.5 years ago, I had just been divorced. I'd been married for about 5 years to a very abusive alcoholic man. He was verbally, physically, mentally, sexually abusive to me. So recovering from that, I went through a lot of depression, and at times it got to the point where I felt suicidal. The first 2 times, I, alhamdulillah, had people around me to help me through. The 3rd time is the moment I'm talking about. I was alone. I'd finally moved out into my own apartment. Before that, I had been living, first in the shelter and then with friends, so I always had people around. But it'd been about 2.5 years since I'd gotten my divorce, and I was finally starting to, financially get my life back together, and I'd gotten my apartment, and it was the first time in my life that I'd ever lived alone. And I was still depressed, and, like I said, I was still struggling with all of these issues of how to get my life back together. One day I was so frustrated, so upset, so depressed, I started thinking about suicide again. I can remember just being so physically, emotionally drained. I didn't want to live anymore. And I just lay down and I cried and I cried and I cried. And finally I started yelling. I started yelling at God. Why did you do this to me? Why did you make me like this? Why is my life so hard? Why can't you do anything to help me? On and on and on and on and on. And finally at the end I pretty much told God that if He wants me to live, and if He has something for me to do here, because He won't let me die, then He needs to just take care of all of this. I told God, and not so nice terms, that I was fed up, I was done. It's all in his hands. I wasn't gonna handle any of it anymore. I wasn't gonna try and fix anything anymore. My life, the complete mess that I had made it, was now in God's hands. And after I was done yelling at God, the most amazing, peaceful sense of relief overcame me. And I assumed at the time that it was just the mental exhaustion of yelling for so long and just getting all of that out into the open. But looking back on it, I really meant it. I really meant to put my life in God's hands. I really meant that God needed to take over for me because I didn't know what I was doing. And within weeks, I made friends with a Muslim. Within months, I was reading books on Islam that I'd never heard of before. Within months, I was visiting a mosque. I'd say within like 2 months, I got my cat, which, seems silly, but he was going to the shelter. He was going to be killed, and even though I didn't have the money to take care of him, I didn't know how I was going to take this cat in. I couldn't let him die, and I know it sounds silly, but he's become like my best friend. He's always there comforting me, no matter what. Since that time, I have attracted people into my life who only want good things for me. I have friends who have, completely changed my life around. I've not only been able to, handle my financial situation, I've handled the depression. I mean, I don't even have to take medication for it anymore. I wake up every day, usually for Fajr, usually definitely by the sunrise prayers, and I wake up joyful to say my prayers. I wake up joyful to, give everything up to God. I really feel like since I demanded God come into my life and He take over, my life has changed dramatically for the better. The person I was, 4 or 5 years ago looks nothing like the person I am today, and I'm so proud of myself for that. If you're out there watching this and you've been there in that situation, or you are there now where you are depressed or you're contemplating suicide, best thing I can tell you is give your problems up to God. Even if you don't believe in God, even if you're not a Muslim, we can't handle everything in our lives. We don't know everything about everything. Science proves that every day. The best thing we can do is just give it up to God. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, a Jew, an agnostic, if you're an atheist, I feel sorry for you. I hope, you find something in your life that gives you meaning and purpose. But for me, personally, submitting to God was the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I just hope that I can share how wonderful my life has become with all of you. Assalamu alaikum.